Hey there, welcome back. I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about inversions. Um, we're all used to playing chords with the root in the bass, right? Like a typical triad or power chord, right? Or even open chords with either the root on the E string, the A string, the D string, etc. So we're going to look instead at just an introduction to inversions, which is when a chord has a low end note that is not the root note. In this case, we're just going to look at simple, what are called first inversions, where the root has been put on top and the third is the low note in the bass. That's called a first inversion. If we took the third out and had the fifth as the lowest note, it's a second inversion. If we took the fifth out, placed it higher, had the seventh as the lowest note, that's a third inversion. Little musical terminology for you. So we're just looking at first inversions, third in the bass. And then we're going to look at, and we're just looking at three note chords on the upper three strings. And then we're going to look at some four note inversions using the top four strings. So we're not going to use the E or the A string at all. This is all for stuff that's up high. And you'll find that there's a lot of music that uses funky syncopated stuff, even in like rock, like Funk 49 and tons of R&B and soul and funk that they just they don't play down here. It's too muddy. It's not percussive. It doesn't cut through. They use these upper strings to get that kind of percussive syncopated right hand. So you'll notice that the guitar is generally tuned to a minor chord, with the exception of the A string. If you fret the A string at the second fret, you have an open E minor chord. So these top four strings are minor seventh, minor third, fifth, and root. So that is a third inversion, seventh in the bass. If we just play the top three strings, we have third, fifth, root. First inversion. And all you have to do is just bar the strings and you have your inversion, your inverted triad. Minor triad, sorry. Now, when I'm barring, I always go ahead and bar down to the D string. And I'll show you why. That's our seventh. Sometimes you're going to want the seventh, especially if you're trying to play a dominant chord. We looked at the minor triad. If we simply take our second finger and replace the minor third with a major third right there, now we have a major triad. All I'm doing is barring it, keeping that bar, and placing my second finger arched right there. Now I have a major triad. But what if I wanted to play a dominant seventh chord? I would need to shift from here, reposition my first finger to grab the minor seventh. So whenever I'm playing these upper register chords, I always play it, I generally play across all four strings. That way I have the minor seventh. And if I want to play a minor seventh chord, right, I have the seven ready to go. If I just want to play a triad, If I want to play the 7th, it's right there. If I want to play a dominant 7 chord, I just put that major 3rd back down, and there's my dominant chord with the 7 in the bass. The other reason I do that is because sometimes I don't want the 7, I want the root. So I'll put my 3rd finger down, and instead of having an inversion, I'll just have a regular chord with the root in the bass. Root, 3rd, 5th, root. Or if I want minor. So it depends on what I want in the bass. You'll hear some songs that will go from a major chord, major like triad, to a dominant, like within one bar to set up the next chord. So it helps to already have that 1st finger barred across all 4 strings to make moves like that. And then I'm going to show you some 4-string chords that really rely on that barred 1st finger as well when we're playing these upper register inversions. So let's take a look at kind of playing through a progression. Let's play through the harmonized scale, where we go through the major scale and play all the associated chord qualities. We'll do it in A. So we're just going to play the top 3 strings, triads, with the 3rd in the bass, 3rd, 5th, root. So our first would be major, A major. Right, just like that. Barred finger, 1st finger, 2nd finger down on the G string. Or like that. Same thing. Now we're going to go up to the 2nd, right? Whole step up, and that's a minor chord. The 2 chord is minor. Then we're going to go up to the 3rd, another whole step up. That's a minor chord. Then we're going to go up to the 4th, half step up. That's a major triad. Then we're going to go up to the 5th, whole step up. It's a major triad. It'd be a dominant 7th chord if we played the 7th, but it's just a major triad. And then up another whole step, minor, to the 6th. The relative minor of the key. We won't worry about the 7. So we've got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. So you see, we have 3 major chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5. And we have 3 minor chords, the 2, the 3, and the 6. Okay, so let's put that into like a progression, okay? Let's say we were doing like let's do the full progression, cycle of 5ths. Root, 3rd, 6th, 2, 5, 1. That's called the circle of 5ths or cycle of 5ths because each of those roots is resolving to a note a 5th above it or below it, same thing. So root, 3rd, minor, 6, minor, 2, 5, 1. One, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 5, 1. You could do a 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 1, 4, 5, 4, 1. There's one progression you'll hear a lot in a lot of hit songs, though you're not aware of it. It's when the 6 moves to the 4, like a 1, 6, 4, 1, 6, 4, 5, things of that nature. 1, 6, 4, 5. 1, 6, 4, 5, 1, 6, 4. Here, say we're really relying on the major chords. 1, the 1, 6 chord, that's minor. 4 chords major. 5 chords major. Now we're going to put in a bridge. We'll use the 6, our relative minor, as our basis for the bridge, and we'll use the minor chords to change the tonality of the song. So we'll go 6, 3, 2, 1. 6, 3, 2, 1. 6, 3, 2. Now watch this. We're going to do a turnaround. 6, 3, 2. Now we're going to do a 5, but we're going to use the minor 7 and do the whole dominant chord, which sets us up back to the 1. So let's kind of play through that, right? 1, 6, 4, 5, 1. You know what? I'm going to put my third finger down. I keep hitting this string anyway, so I'm going to put my third finger down and have that note in the bass. Notice it doesn't change anything. The top 3 strings are still the same. I'm going to go to the bridge. Turn around. 6, 3, 2, 5 to 1. 6, 4, 5, 1. Right? You could do all of that with basically 2 fingers, if you don't use that bottom note, and just 3 strings. So what if you don't want to, jump up and down the neck? I mean, that's a perfectly valid way of playing. You'll see a lot of old school blues guys playing 1-4-5s, just jumping up and down the neck, and it's a great way to get to learn kind of the notes on the neck and the positions. Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, back and forth, and then jumping in between them. But what if you want to play more economically and play within kind of one position and not jump up and down? Well, we're going to have to use some chords with their root notes on the B string. So we have our 1 chord with its root note on the E string, the 2 chord with its root note on the E string, and the 3 chord. Okay, and that's as far as we're going to go. And then for our 4 chord, we're going to go down. Here's our root, so our 4 is down here at the 3rd fret. Now, I'll show you kind of like the chord book fingering for how to play this inversion, and then I'll show you how I play it, which to me just works better and is easier to play. So we're going to play the chord book version of a major inversion, a first inversion major triad. Looks like this. There we go. Okay, so here's our root on the B string. Here's our 5th below it. And then here's our 3rd, major 3rd below that. Okay, so that's how the chord book will tell you to play it. I prefer to just bar this because you have another major 3rd on top. So I like to have that major 3rd on top instead and get 4 notes instead of just having the root on top and that high. You got to do something with the high E, right? If you're going to be strumming and stuff, it's really difficult to mute the high E string and just play these strings right in here. So I just incorporate the high E string with the octave of the 3rd, which is in the bass. So it reinforces the sound, the tonality of the inversion. So here's the 3rd in the bass, major 3rd. Here's the 5th, right there underneath that bar. Here's the root, and then another major 3rd on top. If you look at that chord shape, that is a closed position E dominant chord shape. If I took this down to the low E string, let me move my guitar, sorry. If I took this down to the low E string and played that exact same shape, I have a dominant chord. Move it up to the top 4 strings, and it's now a major triad with the 3rd in the bass. 3rd, 5th, there's your root. That's what you have to keep aware of, is that your root is under your 2nd finger on the B string. So here's your 4 chord, major. Here's your 5 chord, major. 5, 4, 1. 1, 4, 1, 4, 5, 4, 1. So let's look at minor chords, right? Because we've got our 4 and our 5, but we also need our 6. So how would you play a minor inversion with its root on the B string? The minor inversion triad looks a lot kind of like a C dominant kind of chord. Remember about down here we would play like a C dominant chord? position dominant shape with its root on the A string. Again, we don't have to learn anything new. We take that same chord shape, we move it up a string. Now we have a minor triad with its root, third, and the bass. Third, fifth, root, minor third. So, let's say we wanted to play our 1-6-4 progression that we were playing. 1, 6, 4, 5, 1, 6, 4, 5. Let's do the bridge. 6, 3, 2, 1, 6, 3, 2, 5.